You're good, but I want to make sure you got a chance to touch on this because you tweeted a bunch about it this weekend, and we don't talk a ton of Guardians in the offseason, but Guards Fest was this weekend, and something Paul Dolan said pissed you off. So
what did he say?
The floor is yours.
Well, can we play the clip or no?
Yeah, we can play the clip, and if you want to get up, it's 2 minutes long though, so
don't play it. So Paul Dolan had this dopey smile on his face, and he's at Guards Fest. He never takes any tough media questions. He just gives a statement. He did answer one question with something about free agency. What are you going to do? Or add some power, adding a power back. Frankly, I think a lot of our improvement is going to come internally and organically,
which means a rebuild.
I mean, what are we doing here?
Wow.
Do you know how much? Do you know that the Guardians, since signing Edwin Encarnacion 7 years ago, have spent roughly $75 million in free agency in 7 years.
And one of the big signings last year they cut.
Right, and
Zanino.
Most of those guys they've signed over the last 7 years have not been any good. The Guardians have been a non-factor in free agency. And listen, I think Antonetti and Chernoff deserve some criticism. I think they haven't done as well a job the last couple of years. But overall, the Guardians have had this tremendous front office, and they have no flexibility. Nothing whatsoever. And the fact that he says, oh, we're going to do that internally and organically. The last Guardians outfielder to hit 20 home runs just retired. Michael Brantley.
And they let him go.
Yes. And by the way,
I mean, they could have kept him. They should have given them the money.
Yes, they should have. Now, he was coming off some injuries, so I understood, but he's played great.
Didn't slow him down.
20 home runs is not a high bar, Jay.
Not for an outfielder.
I'm not saying 30.
No.
I'm not saying 40.
Right.
They haven't had a 20 home run guy in a decade in their outfield.
What they hit
That's
combined
insane.
last year. What their outfielders hit combined last year. Their everyday outfielders.
15, 10. I don't know. I mean,
that
is crazy.
That is an indictment of the biggest proportions.
You can't. Nobody's asking the Guardians to lead the league in home runs. I'm not asking that, even though the Tampa Bay Rays, who have a small payroll too, led the league in home runs.
By the way, they did it. They went from where the Guardians were.
Right.
They were like 27th or 28th in home runs, and then they led the league.
Is it too much to ask for them to be in the middle of the pack? Is that unfair?
With everything, salary,
yes,
home run production.
Come on now.
They don't. This is so crazy. If it was a restaurant, they don't pay for promotion. They don't pay for ingredients, better ingredients to elevate the taste of the food.
Yeah.
They don't pay any chefs.
They're using government cheese.
Yeah, they're using the sliced cheese that don't melt. You got to put it under the griller. They don't even buy the chefs. They don't even go get an experienced chef to be able to make mediocre food with mediocre
they did
price.
have one in the head coach or in the manager, but once Tito's gone, now we don't have that guy anymore.
And he was
the chef is gone.
And you almost killed him. Because this guy's like, hey, listen, dude, this is my last year. Give me something. Work with me.
I was so frustrated. Yesterday morning, I was listening to, on Sunday mornings on MLB radio, they have a show called The Front Office. And it's two former GMs, Jim Bowden, Jim Duquette.
Oh, okay.
Phillips sometimes fills in on there.
I do too.
Bowden and Duquette were on, and they were interviewing, I can't think of his name now, the general manager of the Reds. He's new there. I can't think of his name.
He's done a good job.
Yeah. He's had a nice offseason, and the Reds have spent some money. We know Cincinnati, similar-sized market to Cleveland, right?
Smaller.
Now, right, and it's a
better baseball town now.
It is.
But
history-wise,
yeah, and they only have two teams, right? They only have two major league teams. And they asked him because the Reds gave 3 years, $45 million to this guy named Jamer Candelario. Good player.
Yeah.
He'd been with Washington. The Cubs got him at the end of last year, and he signed with Cincinnati. And Jim Bowden said to him, you guys didn't really need an infielder. You really needed more of an outfielder. So why did you sign Candelario? Because you guys got all these good young infielders. Right. And he says, Jim, we needed power. And yeah, maybe it would have been better if we got it in the outfield, but we'll figure that out as a team. Right. We needed to add some veteran thump to the lineup. And I went with the best guy at the price. And it was like, okay, all right, well, if I'm not going to get much production from my outfield power-wise, well, then I better get a ton out of my infield.
Sure.
A ton.
Yeah.
Now, the Guardians have gotten decent home run production from the infield.
That went down last year.
But not even close to make up for what they lose in the outfield.
No.
So it's we had to spend some money. We had to get some veterans in here. And the Reds have this great, young, exciting lineup, and the Guardians lineup.
Here's what's crazy to me, and this is driven home when you say Cincinnati's a better baseball town. It is, undeniably. Let's think about where these two organizations were 4 or 5 years ago. The Guardians were just removed from a Game 7 loss in the World Series, and things couldn't look any better. Meantime, our cousins to the southwest, the fan base had decided this owner isn't doing enough. They were boycotting the Reds. They were booing the owner at Great American Ballpark. To the owner's credit, he did something about it. He's spending money. I think he's got a really good general manager in there. Mm-hmm. You look at the roster of the Cincinnati Reds, that's a Guardians-esque roster. That's stuff we have traditionally done. This nonsense that, let me put this through the bullshit translator. Can we put the Dolan comment up again?
Yeah.
You know, I love the bullshit translator. You know, we used it with Andrew Barry. I'm going to use it right now with Paul Dolan. He said, frankly, a lot of our improvement is going to come internally and organically. We've got a lot of young guys, and we've got to see what they can do. I'm going to run that through the bullshit translator.
Okay.
You ready? We're going to suck. We're not going to spend money. We're in a rebuild, and we're going to do it with all of our young guys. There's nothing to see here, so stay home for a few years. Right. That's what that comment says to me.
He had this smile on his face. I wanted to. It made me so angry because this division stinks.
It's winnable.
They got a good young pitching staff.
I believe, Bull, they're going to trade Bieber before opening day and Clase before opening day.
Yeah.
If you're going to wear the suit of rebuild, you might as well wear it, the whole thing.
It's so frustrating because, and what the Reds have done this offseason, the Reds got this good young team.
Exciting young team.
Now, their young pitchers are not as good as the Guardians' young pitchers, but they're still good.
Yeah.
And they've got all these good young hitters, and the Guardians don't.
Right.
They have some, but their guys have come up to the majors and made an impact.
Contributed right away.
Right away, where most of the Guardians guys have not.
They've got a speed element to their team.
They certainly do.
They're fun to watch.
They got position flexibility. And what they did was they went and signed a veteran starter. They didn't sign any one player to the biggest contract was the Candelaria contract, $3 for $45. So they spent a decent amount on him, but that's not crazy.
That's not considered a big contract.
But they went and signed 1 year, $20 million on a veteran pitcher because he's like, we got all these young pitchers, we need a veteran there. They added 3 veterans to the bullpen because they got a good young bullpen, but they're like, we need some experienced guys out there. Nobody's asking the Guardians to go get Ohtani or Bellinger. I'm saying sign some quality veterans, not long shots at the end of their careers like Josh Bell.
Have they done anything but Austin Hedges?
That's it.
Who else did they bring in? They brought in someone else.
Scott Barlow.
Scott Barlow.
Which was a nice pickup.
It's fine. That one's fine. I'm not going to come for that. But the Austin Hedges pickup.
No.
What? That's what you're going to push on your fan base?
That was hilarious.
You got something to say, Jay?
I do, bro. Learn to hit.
Yo.
Honestly, I think Jay could hit better than Austin Hedges in the big leagues right now. I would bet on Jay. I got a lot of faith in him. I think you'd have a higher batting average than Austin Hedges.
Thank you.
I believe that.
I would say that statement's maybe the most absurd one you've ever said, but I appreciate the compliment.
It couldn't be much worse.
I mean, he's got one team.
I'd put the bat on the
Well, you know what's crazy?
I know I do.
I actually kind of agree with you. And I saw Jay play. Jay could legitimately play baseball. He can't catch like
Austin Hedges and Miles Straw might be the 2 worst hitters in the league.
Well, in all likelihood, they will finish at the bottom of the batting average.
Well, I did your
now,
math.
Hedges is, I assume, is not going to play much. He'll just be the backup catcher.
Yeah.
And
was last year was Straw? Did he finish with the lowest average? Because 2 years ago, I think he
he had the lowest OPS.
Oh, he has OPS.
Yeah, lowest OPS.
Yeah.
So I did the math real quick. In 441 games, what their outfield played in totality, which is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Between Straw, Quan, and Will Brennan played 136 games in right field. So a relatively healthy outfield, 11 home runs in 441 games between those 3. So I got 2 super chats.